My quick review of Goonies 2 for the NES. I want to quickly go over Goonies 2 for NES. I'm a retro gamer. I love retro games. And I grew up with the NES. I also grew up with like N64, the PS1, stuff like that. But NES games I have a special fondness for. Goonies 2 is. So I really like both the Goonies games. The Goonies 1 only came out on Famicom. It wasn't released in on Nintendo in the US, but Goonies 2 I grew up with, and I remember how hard it was to beat when I was a kid. I eventually did beat it as a kid with the help of my dad. He would sit down and play it with me. And the biggest thing with that game is it's really confusing. The maps are really confusing, and the whole thing is just really confusing if you don't like write down where you're going and stuff like that. But if you learn to speed run it, it's actually really quick and easy. Um, so I eventually did learn to speed run it a few months back, and you can speed run it in about 20 minutes. But I love Goonies 2. I love the platforming elements of it. The going in the doors and stuff, I don't really care for that as much, but the platforming elements I love. I love the soundtrack. It's got the Cyndi Lauper song from the movie, and the soundtrack just sounds great. The graphics are pretty good for NES, and it's just a really overall memorable game. And I have more of a fondness for that game because I grew up with it. Goonies 1, I did play in the arcade as a kid, but I really like Goonies 1 as well, but in a different way. It's kind of a different game. But Goonies 2, I love, and I recommend trying it out if you haven't, but it is very confusing, and don't be too hard on yourself if you can't beat it because you'll probably need a walkthrough to figure out how to beat it. Um, but yeah, I love the game, and it is very long if you just play it a blind playthrough. It can take several hours to beat.